Welcome back to Homeopathy at Home with Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Bree. I'm excited about tonight's Materia Medica Monday.
Yeah, we're back doing a Materia Medica Monday. Tonight, we're talking about a remedy made from an Indian cockroach. I think it's pretty disgusting.
What does an Indian cockroach even look like?
That's a good idea.
You
I
know,
love how we think of this on the fly. Let's see.
what's the difference between an Indian cockroach and an American cockroach?
Okay, well, this looks just like a cockroach to me. This one looks almost like a palmetto bug or whatever they call the ones that live down here. Oh, I'm getting the creeps just looking at these things. This is the only bug that legitimately
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I don't know. They all look the same. They all look freaky. I don't like it. But the remedy is called Blatta Orientalis.
Blatta Orientalis. So you have to get Blatta Orientalis, not Blatta Americana. Blatta Americana is the American cockroach. Blatta Orientalis is the Indian cockroach, and that's what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go through like I usually do with some keynotes of Blatta and talk about some other things. So the etiology, when you would consider Blatta, the etiology of your problem might be mold, dampness, and or breathing in dust. So you were exposed to mold, dampness, cold, damp air or weather, and or breathing in dust, and then you started having this usually a breathing problem. So Blatta is great for asthma and COVID. So if the etiology was mold, dampness, or breathing in dust, then you consider Blatta.
And we're talking about, this is primarily respiratory.
Yes, it is. It really is. So when I get into, there are some mental symptoms of Blatta, and I'm going to go through the Materia Medica also and just kind of see what else. There are some other physical problems, but yeah, this is mostly respiratory: asthma, bronchitis, coughs, lung disorders, mucus, pneumonia, suffocation is Blatta.
Okay.
So there's a great accumulation of mucus resulting in the inability to breathe and a feeling of suffocation. So you know what, if somebody were to come to me with those symptoms, I would immediately think Antimonium Tart.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually look right now at Antimonium Tart to see some differentials.
Yeah, so this is why I love doing Materia Medica Monday, because I actually learn I'm actually reminded. So if Antimonium Tart isn't working, then I'm gonna from now on remember that Blatta is an option.
Is Antimonium Tart though? I'm at it right now. Is it little expectoration?
That's right.
Isn't coming up where it sounds like, well,
so Blatta, there's a lot of mucus, but it doesn't say. It says suffocation from great accumulation of mucus.
Yeah.
Cough, pneumonia, bronchitis, tuberculosis, spasmodic cough with short intervals and slight expectoration.
And it has that yellow-brown phlegm.
So Antimonium Tart can't expectorate anything, and Blatta has slight expectoration. So there's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
See if there's a color to Antimonium Tart too, because there is a color to Blatta, and I'm getting ahead of you, so I want you to keep going and we can go back and compare if you would rather do that.
I do believe Antimonium Tart is white, but yes, look and see.
I was thinking that too.
So Blatta is worse for lying down. So the person might have to sleep propped up, or they're just fine until they go to lay down to sleep. They must sit up and lean forward like Kali Carb. So the Kali Carb cough or person chest problem, they have to sit up and lean forward, and so does Blatta. There's shortness of breath, worse in rainy weather. Interestingly, cockroaches seek habitats that are in damp areas low to the ground. And so this is where this person has the most trouble. Oppression of the chest, they fear suffocation. They have trouble breathing. You might find the person stooped over, leaning on their elbows. Worse at night. Again, interestingly, the cockroach is nocturnal and very active at night. So is this cough or this chest problem. Better in open air. They want to be fanned like Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla likes the wind, likes a fan on them. They're better for taking a cold bath.
That sounds terrible.
I don't think you could pay me to take a cold bath. I don't even like to get in the cold swimming pool.
Right. It's all the rage these days. It's supposed to be so good for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I tried to turn my shower this morning. I was like, all right, I'm going to like turn it a little cold and see if it helps my day. No, I was so cold. I got goosebumps. It's not fun. I'm just cold.
I would be in a very terrible mood after that. No, that's not good for me at all. I'm not doing it. Blatta is chilly, but suffocated by covers. You might see the mercury characteristics of wanting to throw off the covers, but then quickly they get cold and they want them back on, and then they want them off again. So this is totally describing me right now with my night hot flashes. I'm like covers on, off, on, off. And so, like I get so hot, I like throw the covers off. I'm like, get them off of me. Don't touch. Like I have to know my fingers can't be touching. Everything's hot. And then I get cold and I'm like, get the cover on.
Paul's probably like, this lady is losing her mind. Who is she?
So I think he sleeps really good. I don't think I bother him at all.
He's probably had to learn how to sleep through that.
So yeah, so that's totally reminded me of myself. And that's mercury that really has to do that too. You might see the same thing with the fan. They want the fan on and off, on and off. So for those of you watching on YouTube.
Yeah, that I was laughing seeing that earlier.
I have my fan. It's right here.
You'll notice sometimes she'll turn that on and it's just her hair starts blowing. You don't bat an eye though. You just do it and run with it. It's great.
So, okay. The stomach might feel swollen and heavy. Other parts might feel swollen and heavy as well. There is chronic fatigue and exhaustion with Blatta. They're worse for talking. So they're the breathlessness. So they're short of breath. And then when they talk, they get more short of breath. So they don't want to talk. There's a sensation that lungs will not expand enough. So if they try to take a deep breath in, they feel like their lungs aren't going to expand. There might be a dry, hacking, exhausting cough. Raising mucus is difficult. So not impossible like antimonium tart, but difficult. The chest feels tight. There's oppression of the chest as if a heavy weight. They can't finish their sentence because they've got this feels like a heavy weight on their chest, and they can't take deep breaths. They might also have flu-like symptoms, body aches, weakness, and exhaustion. Listen, this is really helping me. I'm telling you, if you don't have Blatta, I'm actually going to check my stash when we get finished with this.
Yeah, I was thinking that I need to add that.
Yeah. I hope Blatta, you know what? I bet Blatta is in the viruses kit. So I'm just going to look really fast. Come on. Blatta. We didn't talk about Blatta in our viruses course.
We did not.
We did not.
Well, you're getting some free help here.
Yep.
Add that to the thing.
This is the top 50 viruses kit, and that you can get from Taproots, and it goes along with the course that we taught that was about viruses and mostly COVID. So anyway, Blatta. If you don't have Blatta, I think that you should get it. So let's see. Flu-like symptoms, arsenicum. Okay, so Blatta is really close to arsenicum album. So what I wanted to say about that is Blatta mimics arsenicum album. So they can have the same symptom picture as arsenicum album. And so you've been trying arsenicum album, but it's not working. So then Blatta might be your next thing that you really should try or read about and see if it fits. The mucus for Blatta is like pus. It's yellow and tough. So reminds me of Kali Bic. So like the Kali Bic mucus is yellow and ropey, stringy, thick. If they can cough anything up, they feel better. So expectoration ameliorates. That's what that means.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. When they're not having an attack, they seem normal. So you can't even tell anything's wrong with them until they have a coughing or a breathing attack. And then you're like, whoa, this is big. So some diagnoses that Blatta might be very useful in is asthma, bronchitis, tuberculosis, COVID, and RSV.
Yeah.
RSV is respiratory respiratory sinks.
It's a hard word to say. I will agree with you.
Syncitial, I don't know, virus. So I've always said RSV. Only my oldest son ever had RSV, and it was very scary. So a lot of babies had RSV last year. Remember, there was like this big thing going with babies in the hospital with RSV. So Blatta is great for RSV. So if you have babies, you need Blatta. Significant bronchial congestion, accumulation of mucus. You can hear wheezing, where the baby or the person has so much chest congestion that you hear the raspy breathing. So this is great for asthmatics who have a lot of mucus, and they might not wheeze. They don't necessarily have to wheeze. They also just have this very congested sounding lungs. So they might have a dust mite allergy, and that would call for Blatta. And then, so Blatta is worse for breathing in dust. And so again, like we said, the etiology could be from breathing in dust. And I would start with a 6C potency.
Okay.
And meet the intensity of the condition with the frequency of dosing. So remember, this, what we're talking about are physical conditions. 6C is a great, especially when we're talking about breathing. We often use, I think it's Kali Sulph 6C for asthma. So that's a great potency range to start in. So I know I talked really fast. Was there anything that you thought of, Bree?
No, I was just comparing like a few things you said, made me think of carbo veg. That just a couple things, like wanting to take a big breath and feeling not suffocation, but like the feeling like you can't get a big breath. But I saw in Blatta, I know you did say this, but clammy cold sweat, loud coarse wheezing. I don't know, the word coarse got me, and it said like a saw through pine wood when they cough.
Like spongia.
Right, so it made me think that. And then I was reading some of the examples, like the cases in the end, and it seems like people have a history of asthma or chronic bronchitis that comes with the cold, damp weather. At least in these cases that a couple of them that he talked about, he mentioned that. And then it would get cold and damp outside, and then they would have this reaction, like the coughing or the asthma reactions.
So that's very interesting. So here is where knowing some history of the person is helpful. So if they say, oh yeah, they normally have, or they've had a history of asthma, then you would consider Blatta even more.
Yeah, it seems like that in just a couple of these cases, but yeah, I think definitely something to consider. Where antimonium tart, and then the mucus color. I think the mucus color is a big one too.
Yeah.
The white for Antimonium Tart, and then the yellow or brown
Yes.
for Blatta.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big, very clear difference.
Right. Yep. So, oh, were you going to say something else?
No, I don't think so. I'm just looking through here. I do love these too. I feel like I actually am learning some things for the first time. I've never used Blatta. I just haven't had to use it. So this is good though to be reminded of remedies I don't typically think of.
Right. Yeah. This is, yeah. Again, and if not, I'm going to order it because this looks like a really great remedy for all the things that are going around right now. So I also wanted to touch on the mental picture of Blatta.
Mhm.
The mentals are, gosh, like Arsenicum album, anxiety about health. So again, if you were using Arsenicum album and it wasn't helping the thing you were using it for, you might consider Blatta. And that's the only thing it says under mind, anxiety about health. So it's not a huge remedy.
I know, isn't that funny? And then I did see obesity mentioned a couple times in here.
Okay.
So big picture, something to consider.
Yeah. Modalities, we already said worse from dust, worse during the rain, worse in the winter. Yeah, Blatt is not a huge remedy, but man, it looks so useful, right?
It also has jaundice.
Wow. Which materia medica are you looking in?
Oh wait, hold on. I might have just been looking. See, don't do what I just did. I looked at Blatta Americana.
Oh,
Right by it. It's so tiny. It looks like it belonged with.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. That was the wrong one. That's a tiny remedy. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff is actually the same. That was just one. That was only Americana. Man, that was good.
Yeah. I think
It's
that's
not a
all.
huge remedy, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about Blatta. And I would highly suggest that you get it. The last thing I want to say is it can be compared with, so it's a lot like Arsenicum album, we already said, Hydrastis, Pulsatilla, I mentioned, Silica, and Kali Sulph, which I also mentioned that I use in a 6C for asthma. So
Huh.
there you go.
Hydrastis. That's interesting. We should do a materia medica Monday on that one.
On Kali Sulph or
So
Hydrastis?
Hydrastis, because I know I feel like I have a really pigeonholed view of Hydrastis.
Okay. And it's a really good one. And it's probably on our list because we're only on the bees.
Yeah. Right. This is going to go until the end of time. We will be doing materia medica Mondays.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. That was great. Short, easy, get Blatta, get it in a 6C and meet the intensity of the condition with the frequency of dosing. If you need help with understanding what that means, I have an acute care dosing guidelines chart. It might be in my free resources on my website. If it's not, you're welcome to email me and just say, hey, I would love to have the acute care dosing guidelines. If you've taken any of my classes, then you already have that. So have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you for being with me, Bree.
This was great. Thanks.